Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Here with another video. First, I want to thank everyone for the support on my videos. You guys have been leaving nice comments and likes, which I appreciate. So thanks. And to those of you who are new here, welcome. Okay, today I'm going to share another scary story sent in by one of our viewers. Alright, here's the story. A while back, I was home for Christmas and I was staying at my parents' house. It's a bit isolated. It's the only house on the road. Well, I was in the basement playing video games when I heard my dog whining and barking like crazy. It was weird because my dog doesn't normally bark. The sound of my dog led me to the basement window. The glass panes were fogged up and I couldn't see out. I walked over and wiped the window clear. It was snowing heavily and there was a tall, dark figure in the yard, kind of hunched over. I continued to watch as it slowly approached the house. I could see it was tall and thin and wrapped in a long black coat. Then I noticed something odd. It seemed to be floating above the snow. Its feet weren't touching the ground. I watched as it walked up the porch steps and reached out a hand. It knocked on the door twice. I yelled up the stairs to my dad and told him someone was at the door. I was scared to go near it. I took a couple more glances out the window. I saw it lower its arm and turn away. I figured it had gone. I walked over and opened the door, and there was no one there. I looked out onto the lawn. There was nothing there. There wasn't even footprints in the snow. But just in case, I walked down the yard to the street and back. Nothing. Maybe it was a homeless person who wanted shelter from the storm. I looked down the road, but there were no cars passing by. And anyway, the person would have had to walk a long way in the opposite direction to get to the main road. I was convinced it was a homeless person, so I filled a mug with hot chocolate and walked out the door. I took a couple steps onto the porch and saw the dark figure again, hunched over. I poured the hot chocolate onto the snow and said, "Here, it's cold out here. Come in, warm yourself up." I stepped back inside, locked the door, and rushed to the window. It was gone! Moments later, I heard a knock on the door. I was scared to answer, but after a while, I did. No one was there. Again, I walked out onto the lawn and scanned the area. I didn't see anything. That's when I noticed a pair of footprints in the snow. They were large and deep. It was obvious that whoever had made them wasn't homeless. I also noticed something else. A long black coat lying in the snow. It wasn't mine. It was huge and far too long for me. I picked it up and brushed the snow off. I held it up against me and it reached well below my feet. I tossed it onto the grass and headed back to the house. I wondered who it could have been. It was someone big. I know that much. Maybe it was a bear. Bears attack people, but they don't knock on their doors. And bears don't wear long black coats. Whoever it was, I didn't see them again that day. I didn't see them the next day either. In fact, I didn't see them for years. I completely forgot about the incident until last week. I was cleaning out the basement and I came across the coat. I guess it had been blown into the basement somehow. I brought it upstairs and hung it on the coat rack. Just as I finished, I heard a knock on the door. I walked to the window and looked out. Standing on the porch was the same dark figure. I quickly opened the door and shouted, "What do you want?" It raised its head and revealed a gaunt, pale face. The face was bony, like a skeleton. It had big yellow eyes. Its mouth was wide and full of sharp teeth. Then it spoke. Its voice was raspy. It sounded like fingernails scraping down a chalkboard. "Give me back my coat!" "All right, I'm Gwen, 23 years old. The story happened when I was 19. I was backpacking through Europe with my friend Alex. I've always been interested in the occult, but Alex, not so much. I was studying folklore and mythology in college at the time, and one of my courses was dedicated to vampires. And let me tell you, it didn't disappoint. I've read many books and articles on vampires, but hearing these stories straight from locals was better. If you look into vampire folklore, you'll find that every culture has a version of it. Vampire legends exist all over the world. There are the Strigoi, the Impuza, and the alien, and you can probably recognize them as inspiration for modern vampire stories. Of course, I was excited to visit Transylvania, which is located in the historical region of Wallachia, believed to be the birthplace of the modern vampire myth. We toured medieval castles, but we didn't have time to explore the countryside. It was here where I became obsessed with meeting a real vampire. I dragged Alex to ancient cemeteries anywhere. I thought we might find one. It was exhausting for her and she got mad. She reminded me why I always travel solo. On our last night in the country, we stayed in a tiny village. Our Airbnb was attached to a bakery. It smelled delicious, but we were too tired to try it. We didn't bother checking out the town, so we just stayed in. The next morning, we woke up before sunrise. We packed and headed out without having breakfast. The bakery was closed, but now it smelled like fresh bread. I really wanted some, so I knocked on the door. An elderly Romanian woman answered. I apologized for waking her up, but she just waved it off. She invited us in, probably because she was lonely. We sat at the kitchen table and she offered us freshly baked bread and milk. She didn't speak English, but I got the feeling she understood what I was trying to say. I told her I loved vampires. She stared at me, surprised, and then smiled. She grabbed